helping you to weather good and bad economies without putting retirement on hold. This is the Tumolo Financial Podcast with Ken and Nick Tumolo. Ken and his son Nick know that creating a comprehensive financial plan can align your hard-earned life savings with your retirement goals. Consider them your retirement architects. Now, the Tumolo Financial Podcast with Ken and Nick Tumolo.
Guys, one of the things that we like to talk about is one of the things that I like to talk to you about and ask you about is how you like to encourage all of us to just get out there and spend our money. Especially, it's summertime, right? It's vacation time.
Yeah. Yeah, I always have trouble with some people, and I get excited when they're finally going to do things, especially when they get into retirement. People get worried about spending, seeing the 401k start going down. So starting to see them spend their retirement, enjoying their lives is one of the things we like to do.
Yep.
Yeah. And crazy thing is this past week we did a workshop and walking around talking to people, and we mentioned spending up front. And I was walking around and talking to people like, oh, yeah, no one has ever told me to spend when I get to retirement.
Which is tragic. You have worked so hard to earn and save to build this nest egg. Here you are. You're finally having, you should be having the opportunity now to get out and enjoy your life. You're able to leave the 9 to 5. You got your kids, got your grandkids. You want to go visit. You got those vacations, that big trip that you promised your wife that you would take. The time has finally arrived. So that's actually where I wanted to start the conversation with you guys today, because actually learning the lessons of a story gone wrong from one woman in particular, this woman named Agnes. She wrote into GoBankingRates.com and was talking about how she did all the things right, guys. She listened, she worked hard, she saved as much as she could for her retirement. Now she has more money than she knows what to do with, and she is actually regretting her circumstance. At 79 years old, Agnes says that she realizes how she has missed out on opportunities to get out there and do the thing we're talking about, spend her money, make the memories that she's missed out on in her younger years. That's something else we talk about. Once you get into your 80s, people tend to slow down. They don't want to be doing as much activity. So let's talk about how you work to help your clients build plans so that, first off, they don't miss out. They don't have regrets on the things they want to do in their life. And then also, we're not worried about running out of money in our later years. How do you do it?
Yeah. And it really comes down to the fact that, being unsure. And that comes into a whole bunch of things. So if you're unsure about something, you're not going to do something. So let's say you retire at 65. You think you're not sure if you're going to run out of money by doing those things that you want to do.
Yeah.
You're probably not going to spend because you're nervous about that. So it's the not knowing. And so kind of let's just put it into kind of a sequence. If you start to know your numbers, and that's why we always stress planning, when you know your numbers, then you become more sure at doing what you want to do, and then you're not as nervous. So it's really covering those three things is what I would say.
Okay.
Big thing with us, we want to find spending. And I don't want to, and I'm hoping this doesn't happen. I don't really want someone saying to me when they're 80, hey, I should have done that when I was 65, when I first retired. Mm-hmm. And Nick we both do it when we're meeting with our clients. We meet with them every 6 months. And the big part of it is we're always going over the retirement checkup, always showing them where they stand now and where they stand when they're 90, 95 years old, because that starts to show their trend. That's why 6-month reviews are great. We get a trend. And then someone might say to us, Ken, Nick, I'm thinking about doing this vacation. I'm thinking about taking, family members on it. It's going to be a really expensive vacation. It's going to be like $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, but I'm afraid to do it because I might run out of money. And I actually had that exact same thing with one of my clients. He came in. And one big thing for him was taking his family on a vacation. Yeah. And, and some of it is, just wanting to do it with the grandkids and then having the grandkids remember. Yeah. Because think about it, when you're 80 and your grandkids are now, let's say 20, and they're saying to you, hey, Grandpa, remember when I went on that trip with you? Yeah. They'll always remember. It's memories. It's memories that you'll have and that they'll have. And so his big thing was taking him down to Disney. It was ended up costing him close to $25,000.
So affordable. Or every Disney trip, said no one ever. Uh-huh.
Yep. So we ended up, Nick, and you already know who I'm talking about. I can't say names, but Nick and I built out a projection with that in it. And when we showed, minus $25,000 in the plan, and then by the time he was in his 90s, he still had money left over. There wasn't an issue. they did the trip. And
Nice.
for the next few reviews after, that's all I heard about was the trip. So it really made his day, made his family's day. And it's just, those are the reviews. When you start to hear those things, it actually makes me real happy too. So
I know it's why you do what you do. Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, you live through your clients a little bit. And so what I'd say is, listeners, we do a complimentary retirement checkup. You got to start with knowing your numbers. Get rid of that, that piece of being unsure, the nervous piece of it, not knowing. Start to pull those pieces together. We do a complimentary. Our number 860-854-3434. And like Nick, you've had a few stories on it too.
Yeah, and I was thinking of two stories. I'm going to give you one grim story because Agnes had the same thing where she regret not doing things, and it made me think of a story when I was learning the whole financial industry. I used to sit in a few of my dad's meetings, and I still remember this story to this day. And it was a single lady, and her sister ended up going overseas. I think it was Italy, and she didn't think she had the money to do it. And what she ended up doing was not going on the trip, unfortunately. And think about that. I mean, how many people have a chance to go to Italy? And usually only people go maybe once, maybe twice if they're lucky. And she didn't end up going. And when she came back in for her 6-month review, she ended up telling my dad, Ken, and she was just like, I never went on that trip. And it was just sad. And my dad was just like, unfortunately, you actually could have went on that trip and you would have been completely fine. You would have had enough money to keep going through retirement, even still have a cushion. So even those things, and that's why one of the main things we do now, when one of the first few questions when people come in is, what are your goals and aspirations? So that when we get through those 6-month reviews and when we get you to that point of retiring, or even when you're still working, let's try to push you to do those things if it fits in the plan.
Right.
So I just don't want that happening again. That was one of those things that I felt terrible about.
Yeah.
So now I'll give you a good story. I had a client actually that I've had a little bit more issues of having them spend a little bit more. And they finally realized they've been about a year in from retirement. And now, because unfortunately we've gone through some inflation, she's like, money's a little tight for me and my husband. I think I'm ready to start taking money from the 401k. And I was happy. I was like, thank God, let's make you feel comfortable. Let's have you do a few extra things. Like they like to go out to eat a little bit more. So now I'm sending them an extra $500 a month through their IRA accounts. And I'm hearing that they feel a little more relaxed. And then recently, funny thing is, because they started getting used to that, because this was about 3-4 months ago that this just happened, they called me up and they're like, we're ready to buy a car now. Ooh. So they're getting used to it now. They feel comfortable. And I told them, exactly. And I told them they can spend even more than the $500 a month. That was just their starting point for them to feel comfortable spending while still having the principal still set in place on the IRAs. But now doing the car, they're like, I feel comfortable. And I'm like, it works in the plan. I can even show it to you in the projection if you want. And they're like, no, we trust you. So next time I'm going to show them just to be like, okay, see, it didn't have that much an effect. You're okay through 90. There's still money left over. Even if you did a few extra things, that's what the money's there for. A lot of people get worried. And I say this a lot. Everyone's really good at saving their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. It's really hard to turn on that spending.
Well, you're in the saving mindset for decades, and suddenly one day you retire and you're supposed to just know how to flip it in your head. That's not. It doesn't work that way.
I'm going to have the same issue too. So
we all will.
I'm going to have to, maybe I should keep these recordings of this radio show and
remind
listen to
yourself
it when I'm 60 because I'm going to have the same exact issue. So I totally understand. And that's where that Tumolo retirement checkup kind of builds into everything. Kind of like I said, are you going to Disney? Do you want to travel to Italy? Do you want to buy a camper? We've even had a situation like that where we had a client ask us if they could afford a $50,000 camper. We proved down the plan, and they went to go buy the camper that next couple of weeks. So that's where that Tumolo retirement checkup kind of builds out those things, those goals, those aspirations. Our phone number is 860-854-3434, or you can go to our website at tfcheckup.com.
Investment advice offered through Tumolo Wealth Management, a Connecticut-registered investment advisor. Content contained herein should not be construed as an offer or solicitation for investment advice or for the purchase or sale of any security, insurance, or other investment product. Please consult with a qualified financial, tax, accounting, or legal professional before implementing any ideas or strategies discussed here.